The date is etched in our collective memory, April 16, 2014. It was a day that began like any other, with the promise of a new dawn, but it would soon turn into a nightmare that no one could have foreseen. The Sewol Ferry, a symbol of everyday life in South Korea, capsized off the coast, taking with it the lives of 304 passengers, many of them high school students. These young souls were on a school trip, filled with excitement and dreams for the future, unaware of the impending disaster. The world watched in horror as the tragedy unfolded, a stark reminder of the fragility of life and the unforgiving nature of the sea. News channels broadcasted the harrowing images, and social media was flooded with messages of despair and disbelief. The sense of helplessness was palpable as rescue efforts struggled against time and the elements. The Sewol Ferry disaster was not just a maritime tragedy. It was a national trauma that exposed deep flaws in South Korean society. The incident revealed systemic issues, from inadequate safety measures to the mishandling of the rescue operation, sparking a nationwide debate on accountability and governance. The incident sparked outrage and grief, leading to a national reckoning on safety standards, crisis management, and the responsibility of those in power. Candlelight vigils were held across the country and people laid flowers in memory of the victims. Protests erupted, demanding justice and reforms to prevent such a tragedy from ever happening again. The Sewol tragedy serves as a stark reminder that even in an age of advanced technology and stringent regulations, disasters can still occur. It highlighted the need for constant vigilance and the importance of adhering to safety protocols. The stormy seas and the lowering of lifeboats became symbols of the struggle between human ingenuity and the forces of nature. It underscores the critical importance of maritime safety, effective crisis management, and the lessons we must learn from such harrowing events. The training of Coast Guard personnel and emergency response teams became a focal point, emphasizing the need for preparedness and swift action in times of crisis. The Sewol should not be remembered merely as a tragedy, but as a catalyst for change, a beacon illuminating the path towards a safer future for maritime travel. Memorials for the victims serve as a poignant reminder of the lives lost, while lighthouses guiding ships symbolize hope and safety. Maritime safety conferences and the implementation of new regulations are steps towards ensuring that such a disaster never happens again. The Sewol Ferry disaster was not a single catastrophic event, but rather a cascade of failures, each compounding the next. It was a tragic sequence of events that highlighted glaring issues within the maritime industry and regulatory bodies. It began with the overloading of the ferry, a direct result of lax regulations and a culture that often prioritized profit over safety. The ferry was carrying more than twice its recommended cargo limit, a blatant violation that went unchecked. This disregard for established weight limits destabilized the vessel, making it highly susceptible to capsizing. The added weight altered the ferry's center of gravity, making it difficult to maneuver safely. The situation worsened when the ferry made a sharp turn, a maneuver that proved fatal given its overloaded state. The sharp turn caused the already unstable ferry to tilt dangerously, setting off a chain reaction of catastrophic events. The improperly secured cargo, another consequence of lax oversight, shifted dramatically, further destabilizing the vessel and sealing its fate. The cargo was not tied down properly, causing it to move and exacerbate the tilt. As the seawall began to list dangerously, the crew's response was slow and inadequate. The crew, many of whom were inexperienced, were ill-prepared to handle such an emergency. Confusion reigned, and precious time was lost as the crew failed to grasp the severity of the situation or initiate a timely evacuation. The lack of clear communication and decisive action further compounded the disaster. Compounding the tragedy was the delayed and chaotic evacuation order. The crew hesitated to issue an evacuation order, and when they finally did, it was too late for many. Passengers, many of them young students, were instructed to remain in their cabins, a fatal decision that cost many lives. The students, trusting the crew's instructions, stayed put, unaware of the imminent danger. The Sewol Ferry disaster was a tragedy of immense proportions, but it was also a tragedy that could have been prevented. The systemic failures, from regulatory oversight to crew training, all played a role in this avoidable catastrophe. The loss of 304 lives serves as a stark reminder of the human cost of complacency, negligence, and a systemic failure to prioritize safety. It is a somber lesson that underscores the need for stringent safety measures and accountability in all aspects of maritime operations. While the Sewol Ferry disaster stands as a stark reminder of the devastating consequences of maritime failures, another incident, the Viking Sky near disaster, offers a glimmer of hope. On March 23, 2019, the Viking Sky cruise ship found itself battling for survival off the treacherous coast of Norway. An engine failure, triggered by insufficient lubricating oil, plunged the vessel into darkness, leaving it adrift and at the mercy of the unforgiving North Sea. As towering waves pounded the ship, threatening to dash it against the rocky coastline, a sense of dread filled the air. The potential for a catastrophe on the scale of the Sewol Ferry disaster loomed large. Yet amidst the chaos and fear, the Viking Sky incident unfolded very differently. The Viking Sky, a modern cruise ship carrying over 1,300 passengers and crew, found itself in dire straits when its engines failed. The culprit, insufficient lubricating oil, a seemingly minor oversight with potentially catastrophic consequences. The ship, adrift in a raging storm, was in imminent danger of being driven onto the rocky Norwegian coast. Despite the terrifying circumstances, the Viking Sky incident showcased the critical importance of a well-trained crew and effective crisis management. The crew, trained for such emergencies, sprang into action. They successfully deployed the ship's anchors, preventing it from grounding and buying precious time for rescue efforts. Section 5. The Importance of Redundancy. A deeper look at the Viking Sky. The Viking Sky incident highlighted a critical aspect of maritime safety: redundancy. While the lack of sufficient lubricating oil triggered the engine failure, the situation was exacerbated by the design of the ship's oil sump tanks. These tanks, crucial for supplying oil to the engines, were not designed to handle the rolling motion of the ship in rough seas, a critical design flaw that contributed to the near disaster. The Viking Sky incident underscores the importance of robust design and engineering in maritime vessels, particularly in critical systems like lubrication and fuel supply. Redundant systems designed to kick in when primary systems fail are essential for preventing catastrophic failures. Section 6. Echoes of disaster: parallels between Sewol and Viking Sky. While the outcomes of the Sewol and Viking Sky incidents differed greatly, they share striking parallels. Both incidents underscore the critical importance of adherence to safety regulations and the potentially catastrophic consequences of even seemingly minor oversights. The overloading of the Sewol Ferry and the insufficient lubricating oil on the Viking Sky highlight the need for vigilance and a culture of safety that permeates all levels of maritime operations. Moreover, both incidents highlight the crucial role of human factors in maritime accidents. In the case of the Sewol, the crew's delayed and inadequate response contributed to the tragedy. In contrast, the Viking Sky incident showcased the importance of a well-trained and prepared crew capable of taking decisive action in a crisis. Section 7. Human error and the need for rigorous training. The human element plays a critical role in maritime safety. No matter how advanced the technology or how stringent the regulations, human error can undermine even the most robust safety protocols. The Sewol Ferry disaster highlighted the devastating consequences of inadequate training, poor communication, and a lack of clear leadership in a crisis. The Viking Sky incident, on the other hand, demonstrated the importance of comprehensive training, clear communication, and decisive action in a life-or-death situation. The crew's ability to maintain their composure, follow established protocols, and effectively communicate with passengers and rescue services undoubtedly saved lives. Section 8. From Tragedy to Triumph: Learning from Past Mistakes. The Sewol Ferry disaster and the Viking Sky incident offer valuable, albeit tragic, lessons in maritime safety. The Sewol tragedy serves as a stark reminder of the human cost of complacency, negligence, and a systemic failure to prioritize safety. The Viking Sky incident, while a near disaster, highlights the critical importance of rigorous training, effective crisis management, and a culture of safety that values human life above all else. These incidents underscore the need for continuous improvement in safety measures, rigorous training, and strict adherence to regulations. They highlight the importance of learning from past mistakes, both our own and those of others, to prevent future tragedies. Section 9. A Safer Future at Sea: The Path Forward. The path to a safer future for maritime travel requires a multifaceted approach that encompasses technological advancements, stringent regulations, and a steadfast commitment to a culture of safety. This journey is not just about implementing new technologies but also about ensuring that these technologies are accessible and effectively utilized across the industry. We must invest in advanced technologies that enhance navigation, communication, and emergency response capabilities. These technologies include state-of-the-art navigation systems, real-time satellite communication, and robust emergency response mechanisms that can be activated at a moment's notice. We must develop and enforce stringent regulations that address every aspect of maritime safety, from vessel design and maintenance to crew training and crisis management. These regulations should be regularly updated to keep pace with technological advancements and emerging threats. Most importantly, we must foster a culture of safety that permeates every level of the maritime industry. This culture should be ingrained in every crew member, from the captain to the newest recruit, ensuring that safety is always the top priority. This culture of safety must be rooted in a deep respect for human life, a commitment to continuous improvement, and an unwavering willingness to learn from past mistakes. It involves regular training, open communication, and a proactive approach to identifying and mitigating risks. Only then can we ensure that the tragedies of the Sewol Ferry and other maritime disasters are not repeated. By working together, we can create a safer future for everyone who travels by sea, honoring the memories of those we have lost and protecting the lives of those who sail today and in the future.